Hey everybody out there, welcome to Advancement Live. My name is Ryan Catherwood and it is 1 o'clock on Tuesday, so it is time for another edition of Advancement Live. I'm coming to you live from the University of Virginia here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Advancement Live is part of HigherEdLive Network, which is a series of professional development web shows and podcasts, which are always free and accessible to you in the archives of HigherEdLive.com, or you can also download them from iTunes. Always, while we're broadcasting, be part of the conversation by tuning in and sharing your insights and questions using the hashtag HigherEdLive. You can receive weekly updates with live web show dates and times and subjects by subscribing to the HigherEdLive newsletter. Be sure to do so by visiting the HigherEdLive.com website. I'd like to introduce our Advancement Live sponsors. Advancement Live this week brought to you by iModules, and iModules would like to say welcome to Troy Anderson, who is the new CTO for all friends of iModules, and M. Stoner. HigherEdLive is produced by M. Stoner, a marketing and communications firm that works with education institutions on branding, strategy, web design, and more. Sign up for a free webinar on Friday, May the 2nd, to learn about the Buzzer Higher Ed CMS. Buzzer is a CMS specifically built for small colleges and universities that desire a top-tier website strategy, well-organized content, and an attractive design. We tweeted out a link to that, and you can be sure to register. Okay, on with the show. Now joining us on Advancement Live is Mr. John Ruzek from the University of Minnesota Alumni Association. John is the Senior Director of Alumni Networks for the University of Minnesota Alumni Association, where he's focusing on tapping into the expertise of about 435,000 alumni worldwide to advance career, corporate, and mentor initiatives to support both students and alumni. For 3 years, John was Alumni Relations, the Director of Alumni Relations for the College of Education and Human Development at the University of Minnesota. John also worked for 10 years in Student Affairs and has a Master's in Students in Social Work and Business Programs. And John, thanks for joining us today. Great to chat again. And we wanted to sort of take a look at, you've got this great experience now as in the college unit level and now working for the Alumni Association. One of the biggest keys, I think, to success as a solo alumni engagement program is to sort of develop collaborative opportunities across the university. What were some of your successes at the College of Education and Human Development?
Well, first, thanks for having me on, Ryan, and it's great to be here. I would say, especially when you're an alumni relations officer working at the collegiate level, I think at first you have to be open to collaboration. There's some people I've bumped into at other institutions or in alumni relations that just like to stay within their certain discipline and maybe not collaborate. But I think especially when you're a small shop, maybe have a small budget, you're an office of one serving 70,000 alumni, which what I was doing with the College of Education and Human Development, you need to foster those collaborations. So I think sometimes it's just simply looking at other sister colleges that maybe have similarities to you. With the College of Education and Human Development, I partnered a lot with a colleague in our College of Liberal Arts because many of the, whether human services degrees or psychology had some overlap with some programs in our college, and they were just another sister college that had a lot of different diverse degrees coming out of it, much like the College of Education and Human Development. So we knew if we partnered together, we would have similar alumni bodies as far as people coming from lots of different perspectives. And then also myself and 5 other colleagues from different colleges here at the U of M, we kick-started a recent alumni networking initiative, or some people call it young alumni, but kind of that graduates of the last 5 years, 10 years, and we all banded together because each of us were struggling to engage that recent alumni set, but maybe didn't have the time or budget to put on something really big, or maybe if we were doing something just by ourselves, we'd only draw maybe 20, 30 people just as a college. But working together, we were able to get 100, 120 people in the same room. And what we pleasantly found out is that engineers like to talk with teachers, and teachers like to talk with nursing graduates. And it was really hard to actually, they didn't really want to kind of just be siloed as far as that networking. And so where we took that from beyond after that first year is that we then started partnering with the Central Alumni Association, which I'm a part of now here at the University of Minnesota, and we've created an emerging professionals network that now involves, I think, 11 partner colleges, and we have an ongoing series of professional kind of networking and social opportunities for these alumni, and we're involving many more colleges from across the U. And then lastly, I'd say our colleges have been really collaborating more on promoting each other's regional alumni events where maybe they'd be looking for more folks. So for example, our Carlson School of Management has been doing some regional events, but they have opened that up to other alumni, and when they've done events in Boston or Denver. And so that's been a nice way to involve some other non-business alumni who live around the country. And also our Central Alumni Association has done a really good job communicating the different regional chapter events that are coming up, so then all the collegiate level alumni relations officers are in the loop.
And I think, John, in hearing your thoughtful explanation there, the idea of collaboration is key in terms of working with other folks at other colleges and units at the University of Minnesota. And we talked a little bit about in our pre-show call that it's also important to really develop connections with other individuals to help make that happen. Is that a fair assessment?
Oh, absolutely. 3 years ago, I was moving from student affairs into alumni relations, and the first thing is that I knew I had to build good connections and networks with my fellow alumni relations officers, both at the Central Alumni Association, but also in the collegiate units. So those partnerships that later came with other colleges were really formed by talking with my colleagues, learning about what their interests were, what their goals were, and then trying to find those synergies where we could collaborate. I'd also say working within your college, so when I was with the College of Education and Human Development, it's building up those relationships with the Career Center staff that's working with students and or also recent alumni. That was one of the most valuable collaborative partnerships that I had within my college when I worked there, knowing the academic advisors there who are seeing the real needs of alumni that are coming out or maybe have kept in touch with recent alumni. That was a valuable network. I think it's really important to make connections with faculty and the faculty chairs of your departments that make up your college. So for example, with College Education and Human Development, there is 8 separate academic departments that made up the college. And obviously each of those 8 are doing really amazing, interesting things and kind of running on full engines ahead on their things. And so the important part is just introducing myself, being new 3 years ago with those faculty chairs, with key faculty in those departments to explain what my interests were for the college level alumni relations, but then really also just listen about what their past experiences were or perspectives were with alumni relations, and then try to see where my work could overlap with some of their goals and directions. And just by kind of really, kind of hitting the sidewalk and going to meet a lot of those people, you learn what's happening at that department level, because each of them can operate independently and actually are very interested and kind of protective of their own alumni. And so I think the more you can show that you're wanting to promote their activities, you're wanting to promote their alumni, and really work collaboratively, that's important, because otherwise, especially with faculty, they're busy with teaching, they're busy with research, they're busy with advising, and so sometimes the nitty-gritty of alumni relations work kind of falls to the bottom of their list, and so I think the more, as alumni relations officers, you can show your value and show how you can collaborate with either them or people within their department or within your college, that will go a long way.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things I did when I started here at the University of Virginia to just kind of discover who the other communicators were around the university at the school and unit level was to sort of take a look at social media, who was tweeting what, for example. So yeah. What are some of the tips that you have for using social media in order to sort of establish a great alumni relations program?
Well, at the college level, I would say our LinkedIn group was probably one of the most successful. It had been started about a year before I began, and had, I think, trying to remember, I think it maybe had just a little over 300 people. Our group is a combined alumni and student group, which I'm a big proponent of, just because you can get students in the pipeline, and then as they become alumni, they just stay in the group. They don't have to join another thing. And having that combo group allows students to more easily connect with alumni as well. But I found that with working hand in hand with our career services for the college education and human development, we grew that group now to, it's about, I think, over 2,500 members, and still growing. And that's been a really good specific college level way to hone into your alumni that want to affiliate with your college on that level. I also tried experimenting a little bit with the subgroups function of LinkedIn groups. There was a small number of people who opted into that. It wasn't as productive as the main group. So I think that's probably just a lesson learned. And this will always depend on your own college's social media culture or your university's social media culture. But here at the University of Minnesota, we're a large land-grant research-based institution, so we have tons and tons of people on, or as far as departments or centers or individuals on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And so, whereas I think sometimes having too many voices or official or unofficial groups on LinkedIn can maybe be more distracting, I thought having a lot of those voices on Twitter was actually good as far as getting some different perspectives or help reinforcing the types of messages that your college wants to get out, because a department level Twitter account will be feeding out different information than maybe my college alumni level one. And so I always felt with Twitter more voices were better than none. And just be willing to get out there and try different channels that you're comfortable with. Again, sometimes maybe alumni relations officers aren't very comfortable getting into those mediums, and so then they farm it out to a student, which again can be great, and especially if you have a student who's really interested in that. The downfall I've seen is that sometimes you lose I think an authentic voice of what's happening if you're farming it out to someone who's maybe 1 or 2 steps removed, where the alumni officer or maybe has a different perspective.
And you mentioned, John, as you were working in your previous role, that you actually did a little bit of benchmarking with other schools across the country to sort of figure out how to develop a strategy. Well, what were some of the things you discovered during that process?
I would say that kind of going back to the Twitter example, is that I found that sometimes having multiple voices around the same university or institution, I think, can help give more of a critical mass to a message that you're wanting to give out. One of the other things that I saw, or I've seen with different college level LinkedIn groups or other groups around the nation, is that I think especially a LinkedIn group can really wither away if you're not actively cultivating or putting content into the group, because if there's nothing for people to engage or read with, there's less reason for them to click on or visit your group. If you're maybe not as actively moderating your group, which some people sometimes aren't as comfortable with, your group can get overrun with the internet trolls and or people who are posting 17 versions of the same job posting, and your group basically starts to lose value. From talking with other colleagues around the country, I think those that have found that fine balance between cultivating content, encouraging content, maybe even having a network of online ambassadors that help promote content from university, or simply promote university issues that are of interest to them. I think those types of things within a LinkedIn group model can be really helpful. And then just the last thing I'd say for Twitter, or this could really apply to any social media channel, is that I think sometimes colleges are really good at putting out research-based news. So, like, for example, departments will be very rightfully proud of the research that faculty X did, or faculty Y got published in a very prestigious journal. And there's a time and place for that communication. For alumni purposes, as I've talked with different alumni and just from my own gut, I feel that maybe those types of topics aren't really at the top of mind for alums. So I really tried to corner the market on promoting events, promoting alumni recognition, and maybe not driving that, I don't want to call it dry, but very technical, very academic news release type information. I left that to the departments, and that's the channels. That's obviously very appropriate. But I tried to be a little bit more general public based in some of my promotions.
Yeah, tricky topic, right? I think we could probably put together a bit of an entire Advancement Live show on the idea of sharing faculty research as an alumni engagement strategy.
Definitely. I have suggestions from the U of M if you're ever interested. There's lots of good people working on that stuff.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the best things, as you sort of alluded to, that we can do to engage with our alumni is to help promote the things that are important to them. Right. And so, what were some of your experiences in your previous role, and why is it crucial to promote your alumni?
Well, I'd say if you're not promoting either what you're doing in alumni relations or what your alumni are doing, no one's any the wiser. A lot of people are trolling around the internet looking to see maybe what your alumni are doing. So now with e-communications and social media, and even incorporating things into print, if your unit still does a lot of print stuff, is that you can really drive a lot of eyeballs back to things that you're doing. And so one thing that I did in association with the College Education and Human Development's Alumni Society Board is that we revamped our award structure for alumni awards a few years back. We had a lot of historical awards that really were great awards, and we still have a place of honor for them on our website, but they weren't, long story short, is that the criteria for these awards really only recognized alumni from about 2 or 3 of our 8 departments, and so it was very limiting. So we ended up restructuring some of our awards, and one of the offshoots of that is that we started what we called the CEHD Rising Alumni web profile series, and this past April we just finished our 2nd year of web profiles on 23 recent alumni who have achieved early career distinction or have provided outstanding volunteer service or have mentored others in their field. And by having a larger number of alumni profiles, we're able to recognize more people than we would with let's say, a physical award ceremony, on campus. And we're able to recognize more alumni from across the 8 departments. But then by using social media and keeping these profiles relatively short, I tried to keep them maybe I don't know, 400, 500 words total, and kind of more in a Q&A format. It made something, I think, a little bit more digestible for people to look at and take part in, and then we made sure to share it on social media. If they are working for, let's say, Ronald McDonald House Charities here in the Twin Cities, we're able to give recognition to both that alum, but then also the organization or business that that person works for. So it's a good piece of community outreach. And then also, from a student standpoint, now we have 46 alumni profiles of more recent alumni that they can look at. In the question and answer part, we often ask alumni for advice they'd give to an emerging professional. So it actually gives some really good, I think, tips and feedback for students, whether undergraduate or graduate students. It gives them some good feedback and maybe hopefully some inspiration about where they can be in the next 5, 10, 15 years as well.
Thanks so much, John. I think alumni supplied advice has all sorts of potential with respect to strategy and engaging students in career services, as you alluded to. So thank you so much for joining us today, John, and good luck in your new role at the University of Minnesota Alumni Association.
Thank you, Ryan. It was great to be here.
All right. And thank you to our viewers who joined us today on Advancement Live. My name is Ryan Catherwood. The podcast will be available later on this evening or tomorrow for downloading and your listening pleasure on your mobile device. Please do tune in Tuesdays, 1 p.m., either myself or Andrew Gosen up at Cornell University. Try to put on a great episode of Advancement Live for you. So again, for Ryan Catherwood coming to you from the University of Virginia, thanks a lot for listening and have a great day.